Becoming part of the 1% isn't about talent, luck, or being born into the right circumstances. It's a mindset, a choice. It's the moment you look around at the world, at the people settling, coasting, waiting for life to hand them something, and you say, asterisk, that's not going to be me. Asterisk, most people never make that decision. They talk about wanting more, but they live like they're afraid of what more demands, because more costs something. It costs your comfort, your excuses, your old identity. The 1% are the ones who are willing to pay that price in full every single day. See, average isn't just a level of achievement, it's a mental trap. It's the quiet voice in your head that says, asterisk, this is good enough. You've worked hard enough. You deserve a break. Asterisk, that voice sounds kind. It sounds reasonable. But that voice is the enemy. It's the sound of a life lived on repeat. A life where potential dies because comfort won the argument. Most people live there forever. They spend their whole lives negotiating with that voice, making deals with mediocrity. But the 1% don't negotiate. They shut that voice down with action. The difference between being average and being exceptional is not found in what you want. Everyone wants success. Everyone wants freedom, strength, money, peace. The difference is found in what you're willing to endure to get it. The 1% wake up every morning and chase discomfort. They know that real growth only comes from resistance. If life feels easy, it's because you're not pushing hard enough. Pain isn't the enemy. Comfort is. Comfort makes you soft. Comfort makes you forget who you are. The 1% understand that growth demands friction, struggle, and sacrifice. They don't run from that. They run toward it. There's a reason why David Goggins says, asterisk, be uncommon among the uncommon. Asterisk, it's not just about outperforming others. It's about outgrowing your old self every day. The 1% don't compare themselves to the crowd. They compare themselves to who they were yesterday. They treat every single day like an opportunity to break the limits they thought were real. It's not glamorous. It's not comfortable. But it's honest. Because the truth is, the 1% aren't superhuman. They're just brutally consistent. They do what needs to be done long after the motivation fades, long after the excitement disappears. You've got to make peace with boredom, with repetition, with the grind that feels invisible. Everyone wants results, but few are willing to embrace the process. The process is lonely. It's repetitive. It's exhausting, but it's also where you separate yourself from the 99%. The 99% are chasing dopamine, the next distraction, the next validation, the next easy win. The 1% are chasing growth. They're chasing mastery. They don't need applause. They don't need to be seen. They're too busy building something within themselves that no one can take away. The truth is, the 1% don't chase the spotlight. They create it through their consistency. When everyone else is sleeping, they're working. When everyone else is complaining, they're adapting. When everyone else is doubting, they're executing. They've learned to turn suffering into strategy, pain into purpose, fear into fuel. That's the shift. That's what separates them. And here's what most people don't understand. Becoming the 1% isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily recommitment. Every day, you wake up and make that same choice again. To push, to stay disciplined, to live with purpose. You don't just become the 1%. You maintain it. It's not about achieving perfection. It's about refusing to quit when everything inside you is screaming to stop. That's the test most people fail because they think the hard part is starting. It's not. The hard part is staying Staying consistent when there's no reward in sight. Staying focused when the progress feels invisible. Staying locked in when life gives you every reason to tap out. At the end of the day, the 1% are just people who decided that comfort isn't worth the cost of potential. They've made peace with pain. They've learned that self-respect comes from doing the hard things no one else will do. They understand that the real reward isn't the money, the recognition, or the title. It's knowing you didn't waste your shot. It's knowing that when your time comes, you can look back and say, asterisk, I gave everything I had. Asterisk, because here's the truth. You only get one life. One shot, and most people spend it trying to be comfortable. The 1% spend it trying to be capable. So you've got to ask yourself, are you willing to be uncomfortable long enough to find out who you really are? Because that's the entry fee to greatness. Fade when the world sleeps. The 1% rise. When others settle, they evolve. And when comfort calls, they walk away. Because they know that being comfortable is the fastest way to die before you're dead. Asterisk, asterisk. The real battle isn't outside of you. It's within you. It's not the weather. It's not the people. It's not the circumstances. It's your own mind. That's where the war for the 1% is fought. Every single thing you want in life, success, peace, confidence, greatness, it all begins and ends with how you control your thoughts. Because your mind will either make you or break you. And most people never learn how to master it. They let it run wild, full of fear, excuses, and self-doubt. And then they wonder why their lives feel stuck. The truth is, your mind is a liar until you train it to tell the truth. It's built to protect you, not to evolve you. It looks for safety, not growth. It wants to keep you comfortable, predictable, small. That's why when things get hard, that voice shows up. The one that says, asterisk, you can stop now. You've done enough. It's not working. Asterisk, that's not weakness. That's the brain doing what it's designed to do. But here's the thing. The 1% don't obey that voice. They train it. They condition it. They fake talent. Faith. Just like Goggins said. Think about it like this. Every time you face discomfort and push through it, you're building a thicker layer of mental armor. Every moment of struggle becomes a rep for your mind. You start to reprogram the way you respond to pressure. Instead of seeing pain as a threat, you start to see it as a signal that you're leveling up. Instead of quitting, you adapt. Instead of shrinking, you expand. That's the mindset of the 1%. They've learned that their mind is the ultimate tool, but only if they sharpen it daily. The problem is that most people only train their bodies, their skills, their image, but not their mind. And that's why when life hits hard, they break. They fold under pressure because they never built that inner callus. They've been comfortable for so long that the smallest obstacle feels unbearable. But the 1% expose themselves to struggle on purpose. They go out of their way to do hard things, not because they enjoy pain, but because they respect what pain does to the mind. It strips away weakness, it forces honesty, it exposes your limits and then dares you to go beyond them. The mind doesn't get stronger by talking about it. It gets stronger by testing it. You want to build mental toughness. Put yourself in situations where you have to rely on your discipline, not your mood, where you have to finish what you started, even when the excitement is gone. Every time you do that, you're teaching your mind who's in control. You're building a track record of endurance. That's how the 1% separate themselves, not through motivation, but through mastery of self. Goggins talks about being the governor of your own mind, like the governor on an engine that limits its speed. Most people live their whole lives under that limit, never realizing they could have gone further. They stop at 40%, thinking they're at their max. But the truth is, that limit isn't physical, it's mental. It's the point where your mind starts negotiating, telling you to slow down, to stop, to protect yourself. The 1% recognize that signal, and they go past it. They break through that barrier and find out what's on the other side. And what's on the other side is strength, clarity. Freedom. You can't buy that kind of mindset. You can't fake it. You can't read your way into it. You have to live it. You have to experience the moments when your mind tells you it's over and you choose to keep going anyway. Because in that choice, in that single decision to keep moving, you redefine what's possible for yourself. Every time you silence that inner quitter, you get closer to who you were meant to be. The 1% understand that the mind isn't something to escape from. It's something to dominate. They treat it like a muscle, one that needs resistance to grow. They don't run from fear. They study it. They don't avoid failure. They dissect it. They don't ignore pain. They use it as feedback. That's how they build control, focus, resilience. Because once you learn how to command your mind, there's nothing outside of you that can truly stop you. It's not about being fearless. It's about being fearless enough to confront the fear and keep moving anyway. Every day, the mind will test you. It'll whisper reasons to quit. But if you can learn to override that voice with action, if you can condition yourself to stay calm in chaos and clear under stress, you become dangerous, not to others, but to your own limitations. And that's what this is really about. Mastering your mind isn't about becoming invincible. It's about becoming inevitable because the world can take your comfort, your success, your routine, but it can't take your will if you've trained it to endure. So the next time your mind tells you you're done, remember this, it's lying. You're not done. You're just getting started. And the moment you decide to take back control, to callous your mind instead of coddling it, you step into the ranks of the 1%. Because in the end, the strongest weapon you'll ever carry isn't in your hands, it's in your head. And once you master that, nothing can break you. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the fire that keeps you alive when everything else goes dark. Anyone can be motivated for a day, a week, or a month. But motivation fades. It's emotional. It's unstable. It's driven by mood. The 1% understand that success isn't built on how you feel. It's built on what you do, especially when you don't feel like doing it. Discipline is what separates those who dream from those who execute. It's the unglamorous, unseen, repetitive work that most people are too tired or too distracted to do. And that's why only a few rise above the noise. When you look at anyone who's great, an athlete, a creator, a leader, what you're really looking at is a person who learned to act independently of emotion. They've trained themselves to show up no matter what. They've learned how to move forward without needing to be inspired. They know that the mind will always try to talk them out of it. And they've built habits so strong that even when the mind resists, the body moves anyway. That's the essence of discipline, doing what must be done, not what's convenient. The 99% rely on motivation. They wait to feel ready. They tell themselves, asterisk, I'll start when I have more energy. Asterisk or asterisk, I'll go harder when I'm in the right mood. Asterisk, but that moment never comes. The truth is, you're never going to feel ready. You're never going to wake up one morning and suddenly crave discomfort. Discipline is the decision to move anyway, to execute despite the resistance. It's a quiet promise to yourself that no matter how you feel, your actions will stay consistent. Discipline is where self-respect is born, because every time you keep a promise to yourself, you prove that you're in control. And every time you break one, you teach your mind that your words mean nothing. That's why the 1% guard their habits like their life depends on it. Because it does. They know that every skipped workout, every delayed project, every I'll do it tomorrow chips away at who they are becoming. Discipline isn't about punishment. It's about alignment. It's about acting in accordance with the person you claim to be. What makes discipline so powerful is that it's emotion. Proof. It doesn't depend on your environment, your circumstances, or your feelings. Motivation can be crushed by a bad day. Discipline doesn't care. You can be tired, angry, uninspired, and still do what's necessary. And that consistency compounds. Every time you show up when you don't want to, you're rewiring your brain to trust yourself. You're building proof that you're capable, that you're reliable, that you can depend on you. That's something the average person never develops because they live at the mercy of their mood. The 1% have mastered the art of showing up, especially when it hurts. They understand that discipline isn't glamorous. It's often lonely. It's doing the work when no one's watching. It's staying late when no one will notice. It's saying no to distractions that everyone else calls normal. Discipline means being misunderstood because most people can't comprehend your standards. They'll call you obsessed, extreme, too serious, but they won't understand that obsession is the price of freedom. And make no mistake, discipline facing freedom, it's the ability to live on your own terms because you've already done the hard things others avoid. When you're disciplined, you don't depend on external motivation. You don't wait for permission. You move. You create momentum. And that momentum builds confidence. Not the fake confidence that comes from words, but the real confidence that comes from evidence. The more you do, the more you believe, and the more you believe, the more unstoppable you become. Here's the paradox. Discipline looks restrictive, but it's the most liberating thing you can develop. When you're disciplined, you're no longer controlled by laziness, fear, or distraction. You don't need to wonder who you are. Your actions tell the story. Discipline gives you clarity because it removes the noise of indecision. It's simple, not easy. You just do what you said you do every single day. There's no secret formula. There's no trick. Discipline is a grind. It's repetition without reward, sacrifice without applause. And that's exactly why it's so rare. Most people quit because they don't see results fast enough. The 1% keep going because they know the process fade the result. Every day they show up, they're building something invisible: mental fortitude, focus, consistency. These are the qualities that compound into greatness over time. At the end of the day, discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to be. You can talk about change, or you can live it. You can wait for motivation, or you can move through resistance. But you can't do both. The 1% choose to act, to build a life through deliberate effort, not fleeting emotion, because when the alarm goes off at 4 a.m., when the world is asleep and your body screams for rest, discipline is what gets you up. Discipline is what keeps you running. Discipline is what transforms potential into proof. Staying in that quiet moment. When you do what others won't, you separate yourself forever. Because discipline doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you are. Asterisk, asterisk, at some point, you have to stop lying to yourself. That's where real change begins. Most people want success, they want transformation. They want to be the 1%, but they never face the truth about who they are right now. They avoid it because the truth is uncomfortable. It hurts. It exposes your weaknesses, your excuses, your patterns. But that's exactly why the 1% live differently, because they confront what others hide from. They stand in front of the mirror and they don't flinch. David Goggins calls it the Faye accountability mirror. Faye, it's not just a piece of glass. It's a test of honesty. It's a place where you can't run, where you can't mask your failures with filters or distractions. It's where the version of you that pretends meets the version of you that knows. And most people can't handle that conversation. They'll look away. They'll blame others. They'll find excuses. It's not my fault. I'm doing my best. It's just not my time. But that's not accountability. That's self-deception. The 1% don't waste time sugarcoating their lives. They don't need validation. They need truth, because truth is power. You can't fix what you refuse to face. You can't grow from what you won't admit. When you stand in front of that mirror and strip away the lies, you see what's real. The laziness, the inconsistency, the fear, the procrastination, the wasted potential. And that moment, that brutally honest reflection, is where transformation begins. Accountability is the root of self-mastery. It's the ability to say, asterisks, I'm not where I want to be because of me. Asterisk, not your parents, not your boss, not your past. Phi you asterisk, it's realizing that no one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you discipline or confidence or strength. Those things are built through ownership. The moment you take full responsibility for your life, you reclaim control over it. And that's what separates the 1%. They don't run from their flaws. They study them. They treat their weaknesses like data. They use them as fuel. People spend so much energy protecting their ego that they forget to protect their potential. They'd rather defend their excuses than destroy their limitations. But the ego is fragile. It wants to feel right more than it wants to become better. The 1% kill that ego every day. They're not afraid to look stupid, to fail, to be wrong. They understand that growth and comfort cannot coexist. If you're always trying to look good, you'll never actually get good. Accountability requires courage, not the kind that shows up on stage or in front of cameras, but the kind that shows up in silence. The courage to say, asterisk, I'm not disciplined enough. I've been avoiding the hard work. I've been making excuses. Asterisk, that level of honesty cuts deep. But when you can say that to yourself and not look away, you're free. Because now you can change it. The 1% use that pain as direction. They take those hard truths and turn them into daily action. They write their goals on the mirror, their failures, their flaws, and they look at them every day. Not to shame themselves, but to remind themselves that they have work to do. You don't grow from comfort. You grow from confrontation. And the most important confrontation you'll ever have is with yourself. When you start holding yourself accountable, your standards rise. You stop accepting mediocrity. You stop letting yourself off the hook. And that's when life starts to shift. You start to become someone you can respect. Not because you're perfect, but because you're honest. Most people live in denial. And denial keeps them safe, but it also keeps them stuck. The 1% break that cycle. They face reality head, on even when it's ugly, especially when it's ugly, because they know that truth, no matter how painful, is the foundation of power. You can't build strength on lies. You can't build greatness on excuses. You have to build it on brutal self-awareness, the kind that humbles you and pushes you to level up. Every night the world quiets down and it's just you and your reflection. That's the real test. Are you proud of how you live today? Did you keep your promises? Did you show up when it mattered? Or did you hide behind distraction, behind comfort, behind good enough? That mirror doesn't care about your words. It reflects your reality. And if you can look into that mirror and tell yourself the truth, you're already ahead of most. Because the truth might hurt, but it heals. It sharpens you. It rebuilds you into something unbreakable. So stand in front of that mirror tonight. Don't look away. Don't lie. Don't negotiate. Confront what's there, every flaw, every failure, every excuse, and decide that this is where the old version of you ends. Because once you learn to face the truth without fear, you stop living a life of illusion and you start building a life of purpose. Pain is the teacher most people spend their lives running from. They avoid it, numb it, hide from it. And in doing so, they miss the very thing that could have made them unstoppable. Pain is not your enemy. It's the purest form of feedback life can give you. It shows you exactly where you are weak, where you need to grow, where you've been lying to yourself. The 1% understand this. They don't just endure pain. They face duty faith. They respect it because they know that pain reveals truth faster than comfort ever will. Every person who's achieved something extraordinary has a relationship with pain. They've learned to sit with it, to listen to it, to draw strength from it. David Goggins calls it the callus of the mind. Every rep, every mile, every sleepless night, it's all building that callus. It's not about loving pain. It's about realizing that pain is the entry fee for progress. You can't grow without it. You can't evolve without it. And you definitely can't become part of the 1% while running from it. The reason most people never reach their potential is because they spend their entire lives trying to eliminate pain instead of learning from it. The moment something hurts, physically, mentally, emotionally, they retreat. They quit the gym. They stop the project. They abandon the plan. They tell themselves it's not worth it. But the truth is, faith hats fade the moment where the real transformation begins. The pain you avoid today becomes the weakness you carry tomorrow. The 1% flip that equation. They use pain as fuel. They take what hurts and turn it into the reason to keep going. There's something deeply philosophical about this idea. Pain is the great equalizer. It doesn't care how rich you are, how talented you are, how popular you are. Everyone faces it. But what separates people is how they respond. The weak see pain as punishment. The strong see it as information. The 1% see it as opportunity. They don't ask, why is this happening to me? They ask, what is this teaching me? That shift in mindset changes everything when life gets hard, and it will fade. That's when your character is exposed. When you're tired, broken, and nobody's watching. That's when you find out who you really are. Pain strips away the mask. It humbles you. It forces you to confront the parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. And if you stay there long enough, if you stop trying to escape and start trying to understand, that same pain becomes your foundation. It becomes the reason you're strong, focused, and unshakable. The 1% live by a simple rule. Fake comfort kills growth. Asterisk, they know that if they're too comfortable, they're not improving. They seek out the edge, not because they enjoy suffering, but because they know that's where growth lives. They've made peace with discomfort. They train in the cold. They run when they're tired. They work when they're uninspired. Because they understand that pain isn't something to survive. It's something to master. Most people think the goal is to live without pain. But a life without pain is a life without meaning. Pain gives life texture. It gives success value. Without it, achievement feels empty. The 1% don't wish for things to be easier. They wish to be stronger. They use every hardship as proof that they can endure more than they thought possible. They look at failure not as a sign of defeat, but as a sign that they're playing the game at full speed. And here's what's beautiful about pain. It's temporary, but the strength it gives you lasts forever. Every time you push through something hard, you're rewiring your identity. You're becoming someone who no longer breaks under pressure. The next challenge hits. And instead of panicking, you remember, Faye, I've been here before. I've survived worse. Asterisk that memory. That proof of your own resilience becomes your armor. That's what separates the 1%. They've been through the fire so many times that they no longer fear the flames. There's a line Goggins often repeats. Suffering is the true test of life. And he's right. Because in suffering, everything unnecessary burns away. The ego, the excuses, the entitlement, all of it disappears. What's left is the raw, honest version of you. The version that doesn't need validation or comfort, just purpose. That's who you find on the other side of pain. So if you're hurting, if you're struggling, if you feel like life is testing you, good. That means you're alive. That means you're being shaped into something stronger. The pain you feel today is not punishment. It's preparation. It's your body, your mind, your soul evolving to handle more. When you understand that, you stop running from pain and start walking with it. You stop fearing the struggle and start respecting it, because pain doesn't stop the 1%. It defines them. Face so, the next time you feel pain, don't ask for it to end. Ask what it's building within you, because that's where the 1% are made. Asterisk, asterisk, Goggins says,
Идем в желтый тюльпан, давай.
to go to war with yourself. And that's the truth. The legacy you build comes from the battles. No one sees the small daily wars fought in silence. You're not competing with others. You're competing with who you were yesterday. That's the game. That's how you stay relentless. Every day you either step closer to your legacy or drift further away from it. The 1% never drift. They anchor themselves in discipline, not emotion. What separates them isn't superhuman talent, it's consistency. Every single day, they show up. They stack one small, deliberate action on top of another until, over time, it becomes a monument to perseverance. That's what legacy looks like up close. Ordinary days filled with extraordinary effort. While most people are chasing shortcuts, the 1% are building brick by brick because they understand a truth that most can't accept. There's no fast way to something that lasts. When you chase legacy, you stop caring about being liked. You start caring about being respected, not by others, but by yourself. You start measuring success, not by applause, but by integrity. Did I do what I said I'd do? Did I show up when it was hard? Did I give everything I had when it mattered most? That's how the 1% think. Their self-worth isn't built on validation. It's built on execution. They hold themselves to a standard that doesn't bend under pressure. Legacy is also about impact. Not in the sense of how many people know your name, but in how many lives are changed. Because you refuse to quit. When you live with relentless commitment, people notice. Not because you tell them, but because your example speaks louder than words. That's what true leadership is, inspiring others by your endurance, not your image. The 1% don't talk about what they're going to do. They just do it again and again until the results speak for themselves. The hardest part of chasing legacy is realizing that you'll rarely see the full result of your work. The seeds you plant today might not grow until years from now, maybe even after you're gone. But that's okay, because legacy is about contribution, not control. The 1% live with the understanding that they are part of something bigger. Their effort, their suffering, their grind, it all adds to the collective example of human possibility. That's why they don't stop. That's why they can't stop. You got to decide who you want to be remembered as. Not in the future, but right now, because every choice you make is a vote for that identity. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, honesty over ego, purpose over distraction, you're writing the story of your legacy. And you don't need to be perfect to build something lasting. You just need to be relentless. You just need to keep showing up. There's something profoundly philosophical about this pursuit. Legacy isn't a thing you find. It's a thing you become through constant refinement. Every failure, every setback, every sacrifice adds weight to your character. The more you endure, the more depth your story gains. The 1% live in that truth. They don't see struggle as a burden. They see it as the sculptor of meaning. At the end of the day, it's not about being remembered as the strongest, fastest, or smartest. It's about being remembered as the one who never gave up. The one who kept fighting when everyone else folded. The one who showed what's possible when a human being decides to give absolutely everything they have to a purpose greater than themselves. So don't chase comfort, don't chase applause. Chase the kind of legacy that will make the next generation point to your name and say, that's what discipline looks like. That's what purpose feels like. That's what the 1% live for. Because in the end, legacy isn't what you leave behind. It's who you become while you're still here.